Everyone, Assalamu alaikum. In this tutorial, we'll take a look at programming language Go. And this language is developed by Google, and it's super fast and it supports concurrency. And this is the main reason that a lot of beginners, they want to learn Go. And it's developed by Google, and many companies, they use it. Well, from my experience, it's not only super fast, but it's also easy to learn, okay? So this would be a beginner's guide to learn Go. And at the same time, we'll take a look how to go ahead and install it. Well, once you go to this website, go.dev, over here you will choose your download option. Okay, well, I'm on Mac, I already did it. So if you're on Windows or Linux or any other source, based on your preference, just go ahead and download. And it's a basic download, and click next button, regardless whether you are on Windows, Mac, or Linux. Okay, the idea is same. And after that, try to go ahead and download Visual Studio, because in this tutorial I'll be using Visual Studio. Okay, once you are done with this too, go ahead and find the terminal. Now over here, regardless where you are on Windows or Mac or Linux, in general you'll check Go version. Okay, all right, so it'll tell you what version you are using. And that also means that Go has been installed successfully on your machine. Okay, it's the same command both for Mac, iOS, and Windows. And another thing, we need to make sure that Go env, so it tells you Go environment path. While over here, one thing we need to take a look is this one, Go path, and it'll create, and it'll hope that there are certain folders inside your user path, I would say, like this one. So for me, right now I'm at, let's say, let me clear this, I'm at PW, so this is where I am. And if I go to, say, over here, users, Ahmed, and here, and I'll see we have a directory called Go live. Okay, now of course this directory I have created manually. Okay, in general, most of the time if you run this command, you'll see it is your user's name and path, and then there should be a folder called Go, but I've created a subfolder, Mike and Go live. In general, right after your username, it should be the Go. So you can create more subdirectorates, it's fine. But here I have created 2 more, so it doesn't really matter. And inside this directory, Go live, make sure that you have these 3 directories. You can create them manually, and in fact you should. And that's all. And what they are, we'll be talking in detail later. But basically your code should be inside src folder. Okay, so now what we'll do, if I'm here, I'll step back and I'll come to Go live, or I would open this folder in VSCode. So we could do one thing, like for over here I have this Go live, so this is what I have over here early, so I'll drag and drop on VSCode. Okay, and it's already opened. Okay, so you can do the same thing, and inside source I'll create say for example a new file, and I'll call it main.go. Now, like any other programming languages, Go files end with .go. You can call it whatever you want, but you have to have .go. All right, and now here we can write Go code. All right, well, here this is the earlier record I had, so I cleaned it. So the first thing you want to do, you want to go ahead and import a package, and we call it main. And after that you need to import another library, so we do that, import library is called fmt, and it has some built-in functions that we can use for our program. And after that we'll go ahead and write func keyword, which stands for function in Go, and then we would do main, and main is the entry point of any Go program. Okay, Now inside it, we could do pretty much the hello world thing. So here we would do fmt.println, we would do hello there. Okay, all right, now after that we'll go ahead and save it. Okay, now once you save it, you should come to your terminal. If you're in VSCode, you can find terminal from here, new terminal. Okay, and make sure that you are inside this src folder. And to run a Go program, it's pretty simple. You just go ahead and simply do go run and your file name. So our file is main.go, and here we would see hello there. Okay, all right, now you could do ls, and here we see the file. You can also go ahead and build. You can do go build main.go. Okay, now you could do ls, and here you'd see main and main.go. Well, this is this executable file while I'm on Mac, so I can also run this one like main./main, and it would see the same output. If you are on Windows, you would see main.exe. Okay, if you're on Linux, you'd see the same thing. So you write code once and run it pretty much everywhere. So based on your needs, you can get the binary. Okay, so anyway, so this is the most basic thing about Go. Well, it should give you the idea that how simple this language is. Now let's do something interesting. Well, in Go we can call a function, and to call a function, first go ahead and write the function name. So we'll create another new function. We'll do func, and we'll call it beyond hello world. Okay, and over here we'll do something interesting, but we can call this function. Okay, so we'll call this function over here beyond hello world. Okay, now over here we can go ahead and declare a variable. Well, to declare a variable in Go, in general, we'll start with the keyword var, and then your variable name. So I would call it x, and the type int, and that's how you go ahead and declare a variable. Okay, and once you declare a variable, you can initialize it. So we'd initialize the value 5, and then we could do fmt.println. Okay, and the value is, so whatever the value we have, so we would just simply go ahead and write our variable name, which is x. All right, so now we'll go ahead and save it, and because we call this function inside main, okay, so after printing this one, this function will get called, and then we'll see the value is x. So let's save it, and now over here I'll just simply go ahead and simply run go run. Okay, now first we saw hello there, and then we see the value is. All right, so that's what we see. Well, now this is not the only way you can declare and assign value to Go variables. You can do it different way. Over here we declare another variable. We'll call it y, and we'll assign a value to it 10. Okay, so this is another way, declare and initialize a variable. Okay, so colon and equals. So we'll simply just go ahead and print it over here again. The y value, or y value is, I would say, y value is. Now simply here we do y. So here we would do x value is. So let's save it. Okay, now we'll go ahead and run it over here one more time. Now we see x value and y value. So this is most likely, if you keep learning Go programming and work on a project, most of the time this is how you want to go ahead and declare a variable and assign value, because it's quick. But of course, if you declare a variable and you don't use it, you will get error on Go. Say for example 20, and now let's save it. Well, even VSCode doesn't allow you to pass, and if you try to come over here and run it, you'll get error. So z is declared but not used. So if you declare a variable in Go, you have to use it. anyway, so we'll remove that. Well, these are some extensions. In general, you don't need for a basic program like this, but if you want, you can go ahead and install that. In general, first time if you run Go on VSCode, it would ask you to install a lot of installations and extensions. You can go ahead and simply install all of them. We'll go ahead and create another function, and here we'll call it return values. This is the function name. Now this function would return values, so that's why I called it return values. And in Go, if a function returns values, you can just simply go ahead and type the return type. So in our case, we want to return int. Okay, so here I'll declare a variable z, and I'll assign it to value 20, and we just simply do return z. And over here we'll just go ahead and use the value. Okay, so here we'll do z, or you can call it anything you want. We'll call it a, so it would go ahead and get us a value. So here we'll write this one. Okay, all right, so now now you can go ahead and do fmt one more time. You do println the returned value is, so here we do a, and we'll go ahead and save it. Okay, then no error, so you can go ahead and run it. All right, so the return value is 20, so this value is coming from this function. Now, well, once again, in Go, if you want to return a value, the return value type should be end of this function. Okay, well, you can also return multiple values. In that case, you can just simply go ahead and name their how you want to return them. You can give them a name. So first I'll give them a name summation, and second I'll return production. Okay, so here I'll do production, and both of them will have int type. Okay, production here I mean multiplication. So while here I would declare two variables, so we'll have one w, so w equal 10 and z equal 20. So now here we'd return w plus z, and then we also do w multiplied by z. Okay, so this one would belong to this one, and this section would belong to this variable. So these two names are for returning values. Okay, so now over here, this time we would do a and b. All right, so a would have this value over here, sum, and b would have this value, production. Okay, now the return value, while return value a is, now here we do the return the value b is. Okay, well, that's all. So if you return multiple values, so you have to receive them in multiple variable, and that's how you go ahead and receive them. They don't have to be same. Okay, it just I would say a label. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and save it. Now we are here, and we'll go ahead and run it. Let's see. Yes, so the return value a is 30, which is in our case w plus z 30, and w multiplied by z, which is 200. That's what we saw. Well, so that's simple Go language. Okay, well, now we'll go ahead and create another function, and this function is for playing with arrays and loops. So here we'll call it arrays and loop. Okay, because we'll have only one loop. Now over here in Go, if you want to declare array, well, just like variable, you'd go ahead like this. You can go ahead and like this. So here we do var and array a, and here you can assign it a length and the type. Okay, so in this case, a would be assigned to int type, and it will have 5 values, and all of them would be 0. Okay, sorry. So here we do fmt print long, the array is a, and then we do the length. The length is, now for length we can use one built-in function in Go, which is called len. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and call this function over here. Now we'll simply go ahead and call it right here. It doesn't really matter where you call it from. Okay. Alright, let's save it and run it here. So here, that's what we have. As I said earlier, so all the values are initialized to 0 and the length is 5. Okay, but of course you can go ahead and change the certain item. So here we want to change the second index, so which is 1, and here we can assign a value as say 200. Now let's save it and run it. Okay, so here we see there is a value of change, but with this kind of array the problem is you can't increase the length because the size is fixed. So you could do a bit different way. So here we'll declare another variable of array. Now here we'll call it b, and in this case it won't have any size over here, and the style would be, still be int, sorry, the type. Now this is called slice. So the way I understand it is a slice of int. Okay, it's taking a slice of integer. Okay, now after that you can put stuff inside it. So you could do b equal, now here you can use append function to append stuff inside it. So in general, say first element I want 10. Okay, so that's what I'll do here. Now I'll just simply go ahead and copy this one. Now here I'll print it. The array is, the array b is, that's what I will call, and here I'll write b, and here I would do b. All right, so let's save it and let's run. Okay, so here the array b is, so it has only one element, and the length, so it is 1. I think there's a typo, it should be th. So now this can grow as long as you want. All right, and of course you can also go ahead and do an initialization. Now you could do a bit different way. Instead of writing like this, just like we saw, we can also go ahead and initialize array like this. Okay, so in this case, instead of doing like this, I'll just remove this one over here, and here I would do just like that. Okay, and within it, say for example 20, 30, 40. Okay, so now let's see what happens. So let's save it and run it. Okay, so in this case, first I had these 3 elements where the length was a 3, and then I appended a value. So that value is a 10, so that came at the last. Now the length is 4. So this kind of array is growable, okay, which means it can grow. All right, now that's about the size. Now you can also, of course, loop through it. So for that reason, we can declare for loop over here. And just like if you are coming from PHP or Java, so I should also have initialized value. In our case, it is 0, and then I would have a certain length. So the length could be len b, whatever b has this length. So instead of this one, we are taking b. You can of course take a if you want, and then we'll do I++. Okay, just like this. And remember, here we don't have any braces. Okay, while in Go there is only one loop, that's called for loop. Okay, so over here you can go ahead and do this fmt thing. We do print ln, the value of the array index is, now we'll print the value in each index of this array, which is b. Okay, so here simply we'll do b and we'll use I over here. Okay, now we'll go ahead and save it and we'll simply run it one more time. Okay, so as you see that for each index the related value has been print. Okay, so that's how you work with arrays and loops. Okay, all right, next we'll go ahead and declare another variable, sorry, another function, and this would be quite interesting. Well, first we go ahead and do that. Let's see how to create a custom class. Well, in Go you don't really have any class like Java or PHP. You have struct instead of that. Well, that's pretty much like a class though, if you're coming from C or C++. Now here, to declare a class, first you need to type the keyword type and then your struct name. So in our case we'll call it department, and then you need to use the keyword called struct. Okay, and after that you'll have this curly braces, and inside this curly braces you define your fields or properties. So once again, to declare a struct you need to start with the type, your struct name, and then the struct keyword. The convention is to have capital letter for the name. Now here you'd go ahead and write the name, so here we'd do name, so that would be department name, and here the type is string, and here I would do another variable which is location, department location, and the type is string. All right, now we can go ahead and print this. So over here right after this, okay, now I can go ahead and create a custom class first, or sorry, a function. I'll call it my department. Okay, all right, now over here I'll go ahead and create instance of this and initialize this struct. Okay, so I'll just call it dept. Now I'll go ahead and initialize like we do it for a variable. Now here we do department, and we have this value. So the first, we have to assign value for the fields. So the first one is name, and I would say IT department. Okay, and then location, and I'll say Shanghai. All right, now what we could do, well, I'll ignore this for now. So here we can go ahead and print it. We'll do fmt println. Okay, now simply go ahead and print this. Now before we go ahead and print this, we need to call this function. Now I'll just simply call it right below it, my department, so that I can see it here. Now I'll go ahead and save it, and now let's go ahead and run it. So all right, so that's how the struct is print. So you have this field over here, name and location, but of course if you want you can print a certain field from it. Now let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so the name is IT department. That's what we have. Well, now we can also do nested struct, and for that one we'll create another struct, and we'll do type, and here we do name the struct employee, and we'd write the struct keyword. Okay, all right, now inside this we'll create some field. So that would be employee name, string, and we'll have age int, and then we'll have, say, title. That should be a string. Okay, now I want this struct to be nested over here, so I'll create a field of this struct over here, and I'll call the variable name as employee, and the type is employee. Okay, all right, now over here I'll go ahead and initialize it. Okay, so here I would do employee, Okay, and now it'll take, what I would do, I'll just let's see, hit enter and go to a new line over here. So here I would do employee. Okay, well, now employee has a name, this one, so I would do name over here, say Dastagir Ahmed, and here I would do age, say 33, and title Go programmer. Okay, yeah, that's it. Now let's go ahead and save it, and looks like we have an issue, and where it is, okay, well, now, so save it. I think there shouldn't be any new line after this curly brace, so I'll over here close it so that we can get to see the whole window. So anyway, so now let's save it, and after that we'll go ahead and print it, but of course we'll see the same result. We see the IT department. Now here you can also print the value from the nested struct. So in this case, I would go ahead and first access this struct, which is employee, and then I would access name. Let's save it and run it, and that's what we see. Okay, all right, so that's the basic thing about struct and Go. Well, so this tutorial should give you a basic idea that what is Go and how easy it is to learn. In next tutorial, we'll build API and we'll connect our API with Flutter app. Thank you.